Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine's Brexit series of webinars. We have our fourth one today. This is an operator's guide to traces NT. Veterinary Inspector John Higgins will be taking you through this, and will also be taking you through some click-through screens afterwards, so you can actually see exactly what it looks like when you're going through the system. Afterwards, for questions and answers, we'll have John. We will also have Noreen Galvin from our Import Control Division, and we will also have Mairead Kiley from the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority in case anyone has questions related to seafood or fish products. So without any further ado, I will hand over to John. John is not actually going to be on camera. There's a bit of a technical hitch, but I can assure you that he's devastatingly handsome, so you can imagine that yourselves when you go away. So without any further ado, I will hand you over to John.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you all for joining us today. As Tom said, my name is John Higgins, and I'm a veterinary inspector in the Border Control Post Policy Division of the Department of Agriculture. Today I will give you a brief overview of how to create a common health entry document in Traces NT. So what is Traces? Traces is the European Commission's online platform for the electronic completion of documentation, which is required for imports of consignments from third countries and also for certain intra-community trade movements. It facilitates the exchange of information between trading partners and the relevant competent authorities, such as the Border Control Post. Traces is used to record the importation of live animals, animal products, some food and feed of non-animal origin, and plants into the EU from third countries. The system is also used to record internal EU movements of live animals and certain goods. The operator responsible for the consignment, as the name suggests, is a person who takes responsibility for the consignment on arrival into Ireland and makes declarations as the importer or on behalf of the importer. It's an important step in the process for importation to decide who the operator responsible for the consignment will be. The importers must decide who their RFC will be, so it can either be themselves or an agent acting on their behalf. And to be able to use this system, you must register with the Department of Agriculture through the link on this page. So you visit the Department of Agriculture's page on the new gov.ie website. Here you'll find further information on the role of the RFC and the online registration portal to register you to use Traces NT. For importations from a third country, the operator responsible for consignment creates a common health entry document, or SHED-P. This must be done at least 24 hours before arrival of the consignment into the BCP. This serves as prior notification to the BCP of the consignment's arrival there. The minimum 24-hour period allows the BCP to perform the documentary check. This is one of the checks involved in the veterinary checks in the BCP. So the documentary check can be informed in advance of the consignment's arrival, and any issue discovered during that process may be resolved in advance. The information on a shed reflects the information on the health cert, and also only one health cert is used per shed. The RFC submits documents to the BCP through the import portal. A webinar that took place last week describes this process and is available on the gov.ie website. Also, the RFC is the first point of contact for the BCP. So they will be contacted if any issues arise with the consignment.
Thank you very much for that, John. And in fact, there are a lot of questions. I have to compliment you as an audience. You're by far the most curious audience we've had for any of these webinars, because we'll be lucky to get through all of these. So I'll just start them fairly quickly. As an importer of raw material, is it acceptable for the supplier to fill in Traces documentation using an agent in Dublin, i.e. this person's company, as the FBP importing the raw material has no part to play in the Traces system? That's from Jacinta Murphy. John, is that one for you?
I can take that, Tom. It's the operator responsible for the consignment who does everything on Traces NT. So it's whoever the importer decides their operator is going to be.
So it's this person's company, really?
It can be the company themselves, or they can get someone else to do
Okay, that's fine. So it's the operator responsible. That's the answer to that.
That's the only person that used the SNT.
Now, I'm not sure if this is one that we can answer. I'll throw this open to John, or I can throw it open also to Noreen. Currently, export will be completed through traces, but is it the case that from the 1st of January, there'll be no access to traces, that the process will be changing to something called IDAPS? And that's from Karen Menton.
IPAPS is the UK's system. It's the UK's version of Trace NT.
Okay.
Noreen might be able to answer that a bit more fully.
Noreen, is that something?
So yeah, no, as John said, that's the UK version, and they won't have access to traces from then on. And if you're exporting to the UK, then that is the system that will have to be used for exporting from the EU to the UK. But more guidance on that on the DEFRA website, or from the people that you are supplying in the UK.
Okay, thank you for that. Does a UK operator have to have a Republic of Ireland EORI number in order to register for traces? That's from Kathleen Jones.
The operator responsible for the consignment has to be in an EU member state.
So yeah, so if you're a UK exporter, I suppose you would have to get an agent in Ireland
You'd have to get an agent
to go through the process. Yeah, exactly. Okay, if a load is unaccompanied, there's no license plate number, because it's obviously, you don't know what truck it's going to be on. So in this instance, would you fill in not applicable, or what do you do?
The trader number.
The trader number, or the trailer number, sorry. Okay, all right, that's for Geraldine Caulfield. Do you need to know the terminal of arrival in Dublin Port, or is it sufficient to just put Dublin Port in on the form?
It's the BCP, so it'll be just Dublin Port, Terminal 10.
Okay.
Terminal 10, that's where the location of the BCP is. It's not the location where the ships come in.
Okay, but would you have to know that it's Terminal 10, or do you just put down BCP?
When you put it into the search option in Trace NT, you'll see Dublin Port, and that'll be the only option for Dublin Port with retinue checks.
And you've just kind of answered the next question as well. Someone is asking if you need the vehicle reg number, or do you need the trailer number? The trailer number, obviously, is the answer there. Another question from Geraldine Caulfield. What do you mean by batch number? If she has 26 pallets across 4 different commodities, each of them has a unique pallet number, but does it need to have a single batch number, or are you breaking them up according to commodity?
It's the information given on the health cert. So whatever information is available there on the health cert, that's entered in the shed. So it depends how it's displayed there in the health cert.
If you are an operator responsible for the consignment, how far does your responsibility extend? For instance, if the product has to be destroyed, is the operator liable for costs, even though it was actually the importer who was bringing that in?
Noreen, you can take that.
Yeah, sorry. So yes, the operator responsible for the consignment is responsible for that consignment until it is either deemed fit for free circulation within the EU, or if it's been rejected, until the decision has been made to destroy it or return it. So the costs are passed on to the operator responsible for the consignment, and then they will have their own way of redeeming that from the importer. But the operator responsible for the consignment is billed by DAFM for the process, no matter how long or how short that process is.
Okay, thank you for that, Noreen. How does an exporter get registered? This is to do with box number 1. I don't know if that's something that we're dealing with here, is it?
We can, that information, if it's not on the system already, can be created by the operator responsible for the consignment.
Okay.
You click on the advanced button, there's an option to create new details in that box. Like that option isn't available for all of the boxes, but for the exporter it is available.
Here's a kind of an interesting one. If there's one shed per EHC, for instance, if there's beef and fish both on a load, does that mean that everything has to be filled in twice?
That's a separate shed for both of those. So the fish products couldn't be on the meat products. because they're not included on.
Well, they might be both in a groupage consignment, couldn't they?
It could be in a groupage consignment, but wouldn't be on the same health cert, so it'd be separate sheds.
Okay,
It'd be
so
counted as
separate for those.
then.
And they are continuing to come in thick and fast. Is it mandatory to upload the customs declaration?
The customs declaration mightn't be available when they're creating the shed, but it can be entered in the import portal. Noreen, you might have further information on that.
Sorry, so we would need that for the import portal. And as John said, you don't have your SAD number or whatever the new reference that customs are calling it now. You won't have that number probably 24 hours in advance. So you won't have that when you're doing your traces NT, or probably either at the time of uploading your documents to the import portal. So that is a scenario where you would have to go back in when you get it to upload it to that consignment, to the rest of the paperwork for that consignment.
Okay, thank you very much, Noreen. I've one from Mairead here. For seafood, if you have a boat fishing in EU waters and landing in a UK port, what documents do you need to transit the landings by the boat back to Ireland for processing? And do those goods have to come through Dublin Port?
Direct landings will need an EAFC and an IUU regulation. Is that the answer? PSP has to be filled out, and that's as far as like the IUU regulation and the EAFC regulation will come in from the 1st of January.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I have quite a few more. I'll probably have to limit this now. Someone is asking, does a shed have to be created for movement using the GB land bridge if you're sending stuff to the European Union?
For the entry into Ireland, trace NT isn't used. It's information taken from the customs procedure that's used. But entering France, trace NT is used. So they have to create a shed.
Okay, so if you're sending to France or somewhere else via the UK, you will have to fill in a shed.
For France, yeah, you do need to use a shed P.
Okay. If there's no official seal, what is the sufficient detail in the reference of the vehicle/container?
If there's no seal, a full identity check has to be performed. And that's where the check with the goods are examined and the labels are examined. That happens at a different location in the port, the seal check. So it's a slower process. So we recommend that consignments have a seal if possible.
That brings me on to another seal question. Are seals required for intra-EU transits?
For
Probably
certain,
via the land bridge.
Customs have their own requirements on that. Seals are required for some products for using the land bridge, big germinal products like semen and embryos and ova, and some animal byproducts. But in general, food doesn't need to have, from the veterinary point of view, a seal. The customs have their own requirements for the transit process, so they may require a seal.
Okay. Here's a good one. Do we need to complete a CHED P when importing POAO from Northern Ireland? And if so, what do we enter for BCP on shed?
From Northern Ireland, the shed P isn't needed. The food in the Northern Ireland is considered, it's not considered an import to bring in food from the Northern Ireland. That's under the Northern Ireland Protocol. So it's not required.
Okay, but John, this is almost like a pop quiz for you, because there's a second part of the question. Those goods will then be processed by this company and re-exported to the mainland UK. So do they have to do a re-entry on the shed P, or this is a separate shed, I presume?
Well, they wouldn't need a shed P from going from Northern Ireland to Ireland. But once it goes from Ireland to the UK again, they will have to enter the UK's import control process.
Okay, so they're equivalent of the shed.
They're equivalent.
Yeah. Let me see now. I have a couple of export ones which I will direct elsewhere if the questioners don't mind, because this isn't really an export oriented session. We will have some of those in December. Just for your information, we will have one on plants and plant products on the 1st of December. That would be to do with exports, export certification. The other ones to do with animals, animal products, and transiting of equines, they will be later in the month. Okay. Sorry, I just need to read this one a couple of times. I see that a shed D is for high-risk animal feed of non-animal origin. What type of feed is this? That's grain, I presume, is it?
That'd be different parts of the Department of Agriculture now that deal with that. So if we get that person's information,
I will, yeah.
Forward on.
That person's, yeah, no, I'll forward that on, yeah. If you have more than one type of dairy product on the same load, will one shed be sufficient?
If they come under the same veterinary health cert, one shed can be sufficient. So multiple products under the same health cert can be entered on a shed. Okay.
This is another one about Northern Ireland, and this is again to do with transit, but I think I know the answer, but I'll certainly throw it to you, John. This is a poultry company located in Monaghan. They import day-old chicks from the UK to Northern Ireland for rearing purposes, and then they transport them back over the border for slaughter. Is Traces NT relevant for this, as they're responsible for all times for the birds? So they're the operator responsible, I suppose.
For the entry from Northern Ireland into Ireland, Traces NT isn't used.
But for sending it back to Northern Ireland under the Northern Ireland Protocol, it also shouldn't be used. Is that correct?
Those movements aren't, the Traces NT won't be used. But there will be an import process for moving from like Great Britain to Northern Ireland.
We are being asked 24 hours in advance, means that some trucks could have to park up in the UK before sailing. Is it envisioned that this timeline will be reduced at all? I imagine that largely depends on the UK authorities as well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And the 24-hour period gives the BCP an opportunity to perform the documentary health check and sort out any issues that they discover during that. So it reduces the delays once the consignment gets here.
Okay. If you're importing fresh product and the lifespan is short, do you still need to give a 24 hours notice, even though the quantity may not be known in that time frame?
It's the same answer as before. The more notice we have, the better chance we can perform the document check in time and discover any problems. So the problems can be solved before the consignment gets here.
Another question here, is Traces required from Ireland to the Netherlands? You said it is required to go to France.
Other than France, the other countries aren't that clear yet what the process for entering there will be yet. So that'll be made clear soon. But if it's, say, a consignment going directly from Ireland to France, that's the same situation as at the minute. No, a shed Traces doesn't have to be used. It's going directly to France.
And we don't have any direct links to the Netherlands as it stands at the moment. So,
no. But if it was going to France, traveling to Netherlands or driving.
Can an Irish operator submit a Traces declaration in France for using the land bridge, or will the agent need to be sourced?
That we have to contact the French authorities on that to find what they'll find acceptable.
Okay. Let me see, someone is asking, are we any closer to establishing which Northern Ireland ports may be used as border inspection points? That's importing fishery products from Scotland to the north of Ireland. Maybe that's from Mairead?
Yeah, no, we are no further in that as it stands. Now, there have been some talks about it, but as of yet, no. Sorry, couldn't be.
So we're still waiting for the negotiations to conclude for that one, I think.
Has been talks though.
Okay, thank you. Let me see now. I mean, there are still several other questions. Where is there a full list of CN codes for animal feed materials used in Traces available? I presume the CN codes are probably on the revenue side, are they?
CN codes for the animal feed. Yeah. That's similar to the other question on shed Ds, so we could forward them information on that. For shed, for animal products, I know where the regulations are, but I think it's the animal feed they're looking for there, is it?
Sorry, Tom, the CN codes for the fishery products is up on our website, on our SFPA website. Okay.
Very good. Okay, thank you for that. After uploading the information onto Traces and the DAFM import portal, does the operator responsible get a reply from the system telling them that all is okay or that checks are necessary on arrival?
Noreen, you might have more information on that.
They certainly they get a reply to say that their documents, etc., have been received. They will not get a reply to say what routing they will get or what further checks they will be having. If it's product of animal origin, there will always be a check. There will always be 100% identity check. So that is the finessing of the portal is to know how much information the RFC is going to be fed back. So we'll have to come back to you on the exact nature of that, but it's unlikely you will get your routing through it or what exactly you've been chosen for or selected for. But certainly if there's an issue, you will get an email through the portal from us regarding the consignment that you'll have got a unique reference number for each consignment back when you upload your documents. And if we have an issue, we'll get back to you. But as to whether you'll exactly get what examination that load has been chosen for, that hasn't yet been finalised. So we'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm just getting a question. Someone is asking us to repeat the name of the UK version of Traces as they're more export oriented. That's called IDAFS, I-D-A-F-S. Yes?
IPAFS, IP.
IPAFS, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's IPAFS. That's what that's called. Getting several questions. Is it possible to access the Traces NT training system?
I can find out if those details can be released.
Okay. Well, anyone
System
who
is
has asked
fully
about that,
operational, so it might be overloaded. That's the problem with.
okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, look, there are even still more questions. We will try and respond to the questioners because some of them are fairly detailed and specific. Thank you very much for joining us. I think this has been a very interactive session. You've shown a lot of curiosity and you've asked some very good questions. I hope it's been of some benefit to you. Next week, we will have a webinar next Tuesday on rules of origin. So I hope that will be of some benefit to some of you as well. And there'll be details on that on our website, and we'll be promoting it on our social media channels. So I'll just say thank you very much to John, thank you very much to Noreen, and thank you very much to Mairead for joining us, and thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.